2021 at about 6:18 p.m. and we're underway in a virtual public hearing before the Missouri Public Service Commission in file number WR-2021-0177, which concerns Mr. Carl Richard Mills' request to maintain the current rate for service from that water system. The Commission has set this time for a local public hearing on Mr. Mills' request. My name is Jana Jacobs, and I am a regulatory law judge assigned to this case. Before I introduce the Commission, I'll address some technical issues because this hearing is being conducted by telephone conference and via the internet. I appreciate your patience today as we adapt to this new kind of public forum. This is an official hearing, which is being transcribed by a court reporter. Witnesses will be asked to give testimony under oath or affirmation that their statements are truthful. Audio of the hearing is also being broadcast on the Commission's website, so please be aware that statements made here are public and are being broadcast online. We need to make sure the court reporter can hear everyone to preserve this hearing for the record, and we need to make sure that the commissioners can hear the comments. If any of the lines connected to the conference today are too noisy, we will have to mute those lines. When it is your turn to speak, those of you who are connected by phone may need to press *6 on your keypad to take your line off of mute so that we can hear you. Those of you who are connected via the WebEx application online or on a smartphone can mute and unmute your line using the microphone symbol, which you should see on your screen. We will all be patient with each other here tonight as we work through any technical problems that might arise. Those of you who are connected via the internet may notice that there's a chat feature on the WebEx program. That chat is not part of the official record in this hearing, so you can't use it to make comments in this case. It may be useful to you to let us know if you're having a technical problem, however. Okay, now that we've covered those technical basics, I would like to introduce the Commission. The Missouri Public Service Commission regulates the rates charged by investor-owned utility companies in Missouri. The purpose of that regulation is to ensure that rates are just and reasonable. The Commission also regulates the quality of service and safety of the operations of investor-owned utilities. The Commission employs a staff of engineers, accountants, attorneys, financial analysts, and other specialists in utility regulation. There are 5 members of the Commission. Commissioners are appointed by the Governor. The members of the Commission are Chairman Ryan Silvey, Commissioner William Kenny, who is here with us this evening, Commissioner Scott Roop, Commissioner Maida Coleman, who is also here with us this evening, and Commissioner Jason Holzman, who has also joined us this evening. The court reporter is transcribing this hearing so that all of the commissioners can review and read the comments made here today. The Commission values your comments and input. Finally, I want to make sure that it is understood that the floor is open at any time to the Commission during this process. We will anticipate that commissioners will speak up with any questions and comments at any time. I will also pause before we take testimony and also at closing to leave time for any commissioners to speak up and make comments if they would like to do so. So please, commissioners, feel free to interrupt me as necessary tonight. Okay, and now I would like to start with entries of appearance. I'll ask counsel for the parties to enter their appearance for the record and introduce themselves. First, I'm going to ask for the record, Mr. Mills, are you present here today and are you represented by counsel? Please try that again. Mr. Mills, if you are here with us on a phone line, you may need to press *6 before speaking. Just pause a moment.
Yes, this is Richard Mills, and I am not represented by counsel.
Thank you very much, sir. And do we have 4 commission staff this evening? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Myers with the staff of the Missouri Public Service Commission. My address is 200 Madison Street, P.O. Box 360, Jefferson City, Missouri 65102.
Thank you very much, Ms. Myers. And for the Office of the Public Counsel, please.
Good evening. This is Mark Poston for the Office of the Public Counsel.
Thank you, sir. All right, the next thing I'm going to do here is explain how comments will be taken on the record. So we'll only be able to hear from one person at a time today. When more than one person speaks at a time, it's difficult for the court reporter to make a record of what people are saying, and it's not possible for the commission to hear from two people at once. Before each person addresses the commission, I will ask that person to affirm their intent to tell the truth and state and spell their name. After the oath is administered and that person is identified, you can go ahead and make your comments to the commission. Commissioners may want to ask questions to clarify testimony this evening, so please remain connected until I've had a chance to ask for any questions. Mr. Mills or attorneys for the other parties may also ask questions after folks give their testimony. So the purpose of the hearing today is to allow the commission to hear from the company's customers and other members of the public. Commissioners won't be able to answer your questions about this case because the commissioners have to remain impartial until after the evidence is presented to the commission in this rate case. However, if you have questions, there is information available to you. There's information posted on the commission's website about this case, including information about how to submit any questions that you may have. In this particular case, the case file indicates a letter was mailed to customers on about January 10th, and that letter provided some basic information, including instructions about how to get more information about the case on the commission's website. In addition, there was information provided in that letter about how to submit comments in writing. If you have additional questions about how to get information about this case, you can also call the Commission's customer service line at 1-800-392-4211. Okay, unless there are any initial comments from the Commission at this time, we will get started with taking testimony once I've been able to determine if Commissioner Coleman's technical issues have been resolved. Commissioner Coleman, if you want to speak up and let us know if you wanted to, or perhaps Jackie's aware of whether those issues have been managed.
Yes, Commissioner Coleman is on. She can hear everything.
Okay, so unless any commissioners have comments at this point, I will go ahead and take comments from our first witness here tonight. So the floor is open for any commissioner commentary. And unless we have a commissioner speak up, I will be taking volunteers to make statements to the commission this evening. I don't have a list of folks who've registered because the number of customers served by this system is so small that we figured even if all those customers wanted to make comments tonight, we would be able to hear from them. Okay, so do we have any volunteers? The only way to do this is basically to simply speak up. So if you're on a phone line, you can speak up.
This is John Morgan.
And Mr. Morgan, I can see that you actually have a video a feed available to us this evening.
I have a prepared statement I'd like to read.
So before we can hear from you, I will have to ask you to raise your right hand if you're able. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to give are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
I do.
Okay, sir, could you please state your name and spell your name for the record, please?
Yeah, my name is John Darrell Morgan, JOHN-DERALD-MORGAN.
Thank you very much, sir. You can go ahead with your comments, please.
Okay. Well, I have a prepared statement that I'd like to read. I'm a customer of the water system that we're talking about today for many years prior to this past year when it was under the auspices of the Public Service Commission. I was intimately involved in the establishment of the conditions around this water system and the criteria by which it was to operate. I attended all the previous hearings and I testified before the commission. The rate request of a continuation of the flat rate is not in keeping with all the discussions with the staff and the owner regarding the establishment of the certificate of convenience as follows. This rate was established because the owner testified that he did not have volumetric data that would allow for a volumetric setting of rates. The people being served disputed this testimony at the time it was given, as he was seen often going from house to house reading the meters. In discussions, since the owner would or could not produce volumetric data for analysis, it was agreed that a flat rate for 1 year would work and that data would be collected for a year, and then a rate would be set on a connection fee and volumetric usage. The owner wants to pass on costs of water to others through this flat rate, as he's a major user of water with the largest lot in the subdivision that is irrigated and a swimming pool that the other users do not have. This clearly leaves most lot owners at a disadvantage, subsidizing the water usage of probably the largest water user, the owner of the system. It's imperative to have a fair rate and it be based on a volume of water used, and the commission should deny the request for a continuation of a flat rate. The owner agreed to engage a water management firm to assure that the system was properly maintained, and he failed to engage this firm. In fact, he fired the firm even before the commission issued its order that required that the firm be engaged to operate the system. This is a clear violation of the commission order. The commission should fine the owner for his failure to follow the commission's orders. I've submitted a brief to the commission on this matter, a violation of the commission's direct order that the owner agreed to in his testimony. The owner fails to chlorinate the water during the periods of time when a vented two-air tank is utilized to store water. Chlorination is required by safe water procedures and practices during times when this tank that is vented to air is in use. To our knowledge, the owner has failed to flush the lines, as the users have never been informed that the lines were being flushed, so they would know that low water pressure existed when the lines are flushed. This was discussed at length in early hearings, and the owner made claims he diligently flushed the lines to eliminate the buildup of iron sediment in the lines. Apparently, he does not flush the lines, as there is no evidence of this occurring, and it should be required by the commission in future orders. The commission ordered testing at specified intervals and information about the tests to be provided to the users. As of this date, no water test information has been provided. The owner clearly violates at will the commission orders and should be fined for failure to follow the commission orders. Further, the flow rates are not adequate for a proper water supply system due to improper installation in the well house that restricts flow. There are numerous sizes of pipes that are small compared to the line into which the water is fed. In addition, there's a major constriction from the water tank for water flowing into the system that needs to be modified. These complaints over many years have fallen on deaf ears. The commission should order that changes be made, that all houses should receive adequate water flow and pressure. The commission allowed the depreciation of the system to be a part of the rates. I object to the methods used to allow depreciation of a system that serves 35 lots when the users are only 20% of the system. Additionally, the system is 20 years old and should be depreciated out to zero by now and not included in the setting of rates. Further, in his presentation of costs, he not only included the entire cost of the system for a 35 lot system, but the cost of a tank and pumps that the invoice shows were paid by Caring Americans and not by Mr. Mills himself. While the tank and pumps are part of the system, they are not required by the DNR filing that Mills submitted for DNR approval of the system until more houses were put online. This material is available in the DNR filing. I'd be happy to provide the commission with this material. In short, the value of the tank and pump should not be incorporated into the rates for two reasons. He didn't pay for it, and it was not needed according to the DNR permit for the number of houses being served. Since the commission incorporated the cost of a water management system, Ozark Clean Water, into the rates, and this firm was not engaged, a refund is due the users from Mills Water System, as well as a fine for violation of the commission's orders. The cost of using Ozark Clean Water was significantly higher than what he paid for a person to manage the water system. To summarize, the commission should fine the owner for violation of several direct commission orders. The commission should not allow a flat rate, as it is not in keeping with the prior agreements, nor in keeping with the proper allocation of costs to users, since there's a major dissimilarity of usage among the users connected to this system. The commission should reevaluate the value of the system and its components as a part of the rate setting process. The commission should order that the lines be properly flushed on a regular schedule beginning immediately. The commission should order immediate testing of the water at appropriate locations, one of which is to be at the end of the lines, and the results provided to the users. I would like these comments to be incorporated to the commission's order for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement, Mr. Morgan. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Morgan this evening? And I will give, obviously, commissioners can speak up at any point. And then I would ask if any attorneys for the parties would have any follow-up questions for Mr. Morgan. Once again, if anyone has any questions for Mr. Morgan, now is your opportunity to speak up. I did hear someone saying something. Okay, I'm going to ask a clarifying question of Mr. Morgan.
Carl Mills, can you hear me?
Okay, so this is Mr. Mills?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you have a question for Mr. Morgan based on his testimony?
Yes, many.
So I would caution you that while parties generally do have an opportunity to ask questions of those who testify, I want to make sure that we focus the purpose here this evening on informing the commission and allowing the commission to get the information that it needs to get in a public hearing from the customers of the system. So I am going to allow you to ask some questions, but I would ask that they would be focused on providing additional information to the commission rather than an argumentative stance. And before I let you do that, Mr. Mills, there's one clarifying question I want to ask Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan, do you have a complaint pending at this time with the commission in regard to whether the system employed a third-party management company or other company to take care of the system?
Yes, I did file one.
Okay, and that is pending at this time before the commission and has not been resolved. Is that right?
That's correct. I asked that be incorporated into this case, that they be combined.
And a decision on that has not been made at this time. Isn't that correct?
That to my knowledge, that's correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. And now, Mr. Mills, you can go ahead with questions that you have for Mr. Morgan.
I don't think it's necessarily a question for Mr. Morgan.
So if you don't have questions for Mr. Morgan, then it wouldn't be appropriate. Okay, so it doesn't sound like we have questions for Mr. Morgan, which means we can go on to any other folks who are present here this evening who wanted to make a statement to the commission about the system and the request to maintain the flat rate. Is there anyone else in attendance here this evening that wanted to address the commission on that? If you've called in using your phone, you may need to press *6 in order to unmute your line so that you can speak.
This is Dr. Marion Stewart. and I'm part of the Carl R. Mills water system. We assist Mr. Mills with maintaining and running the water system.
Okay, so did you want to give some testimony this evening?
Yes, I do.
Okay, could you please raise your right hand if you're able, ma'am?
Yes,
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you are about to give are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes, I do.
Could you please state and spell your name for the record, please, ma'am?
My name is Dr. Marian, Marian, last name Stewart.
Okay, you can proceed. Thank you very much.
Yes, I was listening to the comments that Mr. Morgan has stated. He stated that Mr. Mills is the largest consumer of water, and he's the only one who has a swimming pool, which is incorrect because we have another customer who has a pool. And for in the subdivision, as far as water usages, and also the 7 users that use the water in the system here, from the company, we have contacted and requested from the Department of Natural Resources regarding the chlorination, and it was advised since we only have 7 houses, the chlorination was actually not recommended until we have additional houses built and usages up to about 15 to 25. And as far as his claim, the lines were not flushed, which is, we have been doing the line flushing twice a year. And one time, Mr. Morgan was adamant that we were not flushing the line and we did not know how to flush the line. We videotaped and sent him as we were flushing to make sure he was informed that we are flushing the lines twice a year. As far as the flow rates that he mentioned, the complaints of the flow rates, there has been no complaints made to the company regarding the flow rates. And we have always followed the commission's rules and regulations and been in constant communication with the PSC regarding with this rate case. And everybody has irrigation systems as well that irrigate with no issues of flow rates in irrigating and watering their lawns and using of the water. That are all my comments.
May I comment?
Is that, I'm sorry, Mr. Morgan?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to
No,
that. I didn't
so
say.
hold on.
Sure.
We are not going to engage in a back and forth argument this evening.
Okay.
So you've given
Well-
your testimony, and now we've heard from another witness who has provided some additional testimony. The next step would be to allow others with the commission or council to ask questions of that witness. So that's where we are in the process. Thank you, sir. So I do have some questions for Dr. Stewart. So
Yes.
first of all, and forgive me, I'm just curious, you've referred to yourself as Dr. Stewart. You've also provided some technical testimony here about apparently how the system is run. Is there any relationship between your title as a doctor and that technical information? Are you a physician? Are you a scientist? What's your qualification in regard to doctor, ma'am? And as I said when we started this hearing, please, the court reporter can only take down the comments of one person at a time. So we all have to wait for each person to finish, and then you can give your response. So that was my first question for you, please.
I am a medical surgeon, and I am a lot owner and a part of the homeowners association here. And I have been here for almost about 11 or even longer than that in the subdivision, and have know the dealings of what has been going on with the utilities. And I assist Mr. Mills in maintaining and running this water system as a volunteer.
So are you also a customer of the system, ma'am?
No, because I'm a lot owner and I have not built the house that I plan on building yet on the lot.
Okay, so you own property in the subdivision that could at some point be served by the system, but you don't currently
Yes.
receive service.
That's correct.
And you've indicated that you assist Mr. Mills in operating the system, but you do not receive compensation for that. You do it as a volunteer.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. So were there any questions for Dr. Stewart? Okay, I'm going to open the floor to see if there are any additional people present here this evening, customers of the system or other members of the public who wanted an opportunity to make a statement to the commission this evening. Is there anyone else present who wanted to make a statement?
Yes, ma'am. Bill Phipps.
Okay, sir, could you please raise your right hand if you're able, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to give are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. And will you please state your name for the record, sir, and spell it for us?
My name is Bill A. Phipps, Phipps.
Thank you very much, sir. You can proceed with your statement.
Okay. We are currently users of the water system at Carriage Oaks. We live at 132 Falling Leaf Court. And it was our understanding when we built our house that it was a major concern from the developer, Carl Mills, that all residents have a meter installed so that we could measure our water. And then is my understanding too, with all due respect to Mr. Mills, it was asked by the commission if he had meter readings and he denied that he had them. We and I have observed him reading on occasion. That was over a year ago prior to our original hearing. And so this year I have measured my water. I had a reading on 1/5 of 20, and I read it again on 1/2 of 21, and we used a total of 13,369 gallons of water. That also includes a part-time living at the residence and also using our sprinkler system in the months of June through, well, and sometime in September. And so I wanted that usage to go on record, please.
Okay, thank you, sir. Your comments are part of the record in this proceeding. Was that all the comment that you wanted to make this evening?
That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any clarifying questions for Mr. Phipps about his testimony this evening?
Yes, I would like to ask Bill if he has any.
And hold on for 1 second. I can't exactly tell who's asking questions and who is speaking up.
Excuse me? Can you hear me?
Is this Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Morgan, I am going to give everyone present who would like to make comments an opportunity to do so.
Well,
And
I was
then-
going to ask Mr. Phipps
and then-
a question.
Right. And then the way that we typically do this is the parties and their attorneys have an opportunity to ask clarifying questions. Okay? And so I understand that you have a pending complaint and you will be a party in that proceeding. And so your ability to insist on asking questions and things like that will be somewhat different in that setting. Okay? All right. So is there anyone else who wants to ask a question of Mr. Phipps? Okay. Is there anyone else present who is a customer of the system or a member of the public who wants to ask questions? I'm sorry, who wants to make a statement to the commission this evening? I'm trying to make sure that all of those people have an opportunity to do so before we engage in any additional back and forth. If you're participating today by dialing in on the phone, you may need to press *6 to make sure that your line is not muted. Okay, it doesn't sound like at this point we have additional, any questions for Mr. Phipps? It doesn't sound like we have any additional testimony from any folks we haven't heard from yet. And I believe if I'm following along here, Mr. Morgan wanted to make some additional comments. We do have time for that. And so I'm going to open the floor and allow Mr. Morgan to make the additional comments that he wanted to make. So Mr. Morgan, you may proceed, sir. Thank you.
Yes, I didn't say that no one else had a swimming pool. I said that Mr. Mills has a swimming pool and most of the rest of us do not have a swimming pool. So just to correct the situation. Secondly, we've had no notification of any flushing of the lines, and all of the videotapes and other stuff was submitted in 2019, not in 2020. We're actually discussing a situation of how the system was operated during the only period of time when it was under commission control, which is 2020. We had no notification that the lines were being flushed. It would only be appropriate for a water system to notify customers if there was going to be a water pressure change while the lines were being flushed. This never occurred. If it did happen, then the people who run this water system are not diligent in assisting the people who are receiving the water supply that there is a problem or there's going to be an issue with regard to flow and water pressure. I may be the only one who has water flow problems that has commented on it in a public hearing, but other people have from time to time indicated that they have low water pressure. For example, 2 members in the system have actually installed pressure tanks in their house to try to get sufficient water flow and pressure in their house from the systems. Now, it turns out that according to DNR, they were not supposed to do that, but the flow and water pressure was so bad that 2 people in the system actually have pressurized water tanks to get the proper pressure and water flow in their houses. So while it may not have been complained a lot about, or people want to reject the fact that there's a discussion about it, it is a fact, and it is represented by the fact that they had to install special systems in their house to get the pressure and flow that they wanted to have that is normal for a properly operating system.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morgan. And as it appears that we have some time here, what was the question that you wanted to ask of Mr. Phipps? And then I'll give him an opportunity to respond if you'd like to share that with us.
Well, I was going to ask Mr. Phipps if he had a water pressure tank in his house to correct pressure and flow. And I've already given you some information about that, but I'll let him comment.
Mr. Phipps, are you still with us, sir?
Yes. Am I on?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Did you hear Mr. Morgan's question about whether you have a pressure regulation tank or something like that in your home?
Yes.
Okay, if you would like, if you wanted to address that, I'm yielding the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we do have a system that has been there for quite some time trying to relieve our low water pressure. And matter of fact, we have a proposal at our house for an update to that to try to improve it. So yes, we are very aware of that. We have a booster pump and a pressure tank.
Okay, and just to clarify, could you explain why you have that equipment, just to elaborate?
Because we had low water pressure. And it's still not what we feel is adequate, and so we're trying to improve that, and we have a proposal to do that.
Was the
That is-
water pressure making it difficult for you to use certain equipment in your house, or what exactly was the issue with the water pressure?
Well, the water pressure issue is when you take showers or you have other washings and et cetera, you don't have the water pressure you feel you need, and you try to improve that. So that's what we've tried to do. And
It sounds as though you might be getting some instruction from someone else. So if there's someone else with you who'd like to give testimony, that would be the proper way for that person to make their statements to the commission, sir.
yes, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. When did you install the equipment to deal with the low water pressure?
Approximately 2009.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's when we built the house, so that's when we put in right after that.
Okay, I think I missed the date you said when you built your house.
2009.
Okay, so basically your testimony is you built your house in 2009 and shortly thereafter you decided the water pressure was low and you added some equipment to improve the water pressure. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Phipps, did that complete your statement on that?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your comments. Was there anyone else with us this evening that wanted to make a statement to the commission about this case? And I want to make sure that the commissioners have had an opportunity if they wanted to make any comments or ask any questions. So once again, I'll just invite the commissioners to speak up if they had anything they wanted to say.
I'm good, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Commissioner
Yeah.
Holzman.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Kenny. I would just like to thank those that gave testimony and let them know that we do have a hearing on this, and Office of Public Counsel will represent you. Staff is involved as a neutral party, and we will take into account everything you have said and as part of the record. So I appreciate your attendance tonight.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kenny. Okay, so I will be getting ready to close the proceeding here. If anyone has anything addition that they wanted to add, now would be your opportunity to speak up and make sure that you've had a chance to address the commission on this case. If you didn't feel comfortable speaking up this evening for some reason, it is possible to make written comments. And so you can go to the commission's website, psc.mo.gov, and get more information about how to do that. You can also contact the Office of the Public Counsel for more information. So there are various ways that you can make comment if you're not comfortable with this particular setting. Okay. On behalf of the commission, I would like to thank everyone who attended this evening for their comments. This hearing is now adjourned. Thank you all for being here. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Judge.